Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. I became a pediatrician, which is what I always wanted to be. My family paid for all of my schooling and helped me get started in practice by giving me a loan with no interest. 2 weeks after we got married, I told my wife the truth about the trips. I told her I could stop going if she wanted. She knew how much they helped our relationship and marriage, so she didn't say anything against them. She even likes me to dress me up at home when no one else is there, and we have some time to ourselves. We still love each other as much as the day I married her. My brother John lives on the West Coast now, so he doesn't come on many of the trips. Most of the time, Joannie will show up on 3-day weekends. He only has 3 beautiful daughters, so it will be a while before he takes someone on their first date. This weekend, he will be there to meet the new people. When Janet's son is old enough, her husband will be there to celebrate. Janet told me right before she got married that she knew the truth about the trips before I did. How do I tell my sons that their dad likes to dress up in women's clothes? That's the big question. Denny, one of my sons, asked, "Could you tell us more about these trips?" Cousin Brian didn't tell us much when we met with him. Danny said, "I don't see why we have to come anyway." For one thing, it's a family tradition. I've been going on these trips for more than 25 years. They're 5 generations old. I also tried to make them happy about coming because they are a lot of fun. I'll offer you something. This is the only trip you'll have to go on if you don't like them. But if we don't show up, we'll lose the money, right? Inquired Danny. You can have the trust fund as long as you don't tell anyone about the trips. That includes all of our family members. We won't talk about the trips, so don't worry. Is it true that we won't need to use the college money from the trust fund? Denny asked. After our 21st birthday, we can spend the money however we want. Your family will pay for your college, just like they did for me all through medical school. They even set up my practice for me. Danny was moving his hands back and forth, so I looked over and watched. Danny, what are you up to? I'm driving the car I'm going to buy on my 21st birthday, he told me. Stop dreaming, he said. I told them, we're here. What's the size of this place, Dad? Denny asked. About 250 acres. It is all around a small lake where we will swim and do other things. How many of our family members are going to be here? Inquired Danny. I think maybe 75, since it's only a 2-day weekend. When we all get together for a 3-day weekend, there are almost 200 of us. There are family members who can't make it for just 2 days. Will we be the first people there? It's how things are done. The first-timers show up an hour earlier. I told Danny not to worry because the others would be here at 7. I saw 2 cars as we pulled into the parking lot. I knew the other one was John's because the caretaker only had 1. Your Uncle John is at least here. Then, I told myself, I hope he's ready to do what I've asked of him. Dad, do we have to hang out with you and the other old people all the time? Denny asked. Most of the time, we all spend the first night together. You're on your own after that. Will Kirk be there? Inquired Danny. Kirk, Brian's son, went on his first trip 2 months before. Definitely. His dad told me that Kirk uses a calendar to mark off the days until each trip. Also, if I can't go on an outing, you'll probably ride up with Kirk and Brian. That is, if you come on any more trips. In the same way, if Kirk's father can't come, Kirk will ride with us. My boys were excited about the trips because they knew there would be at least 1 boy their age there. Denny asked as we walked through the lobby, "Shouldn't we check in?" Not necessary. A new person is only given the master bedroom. After the first trip, you'll be put in a room with another person. Both of you have always wanted to share a room with each other. Both of the boys were shocked by how big the master room was. I think they were more amazed by how big it was than by what was inside. I also heard a small tap on the bathroom door, which neither boy heard. The tap told me that Joannie was in place and waiting for me to call. I told the boys to please sit down. Then I asked, aside from the size, do you notice anything else that's different about this room? After taking a moment to look around, they almost said the same thing. This room looks like it would be better for a woman than a man. I told them that all of the rooms in the lodge were like this one. What gives? Inquired Danny. I said, it's the secret about the trips. And then I asked, what is it? Want to know what I mean? Denny said, yes, please show us. I went to the bathroom. Please come out and say hi. You said this was a trip for men only, Denny said. Joannie walked into the room before I could say anything. Hi, boys. The boys couldn't help but notice that Joannie's voice was the same as their Uncle John's. Both boys just looked at Joannie with their mouths wide open for a full minute. Then, at the same time, Uncle John, Joannie said, That's right, but here at the outings, I'm your Uncle Joannie. Then I said, This is how our all-male family trips work. It gives the men in the family a chance to dress up as women without worrying that everyone will find out. You mean you want us to dress like girls? Denny was about to scream. I do, but only for this weekend. I want you to experience it. If you still don't like the idea, you won't have to go on any more trips. All I ask is that you give it a shot. What if we don't want to give it a try? Inquired Danny. You will not fit in. Everyone else will be wearing costumes. Does Kirk like to put on clothes? Denny asked. I said, Of course he does. He's also been waiting for your first trip together. Let's give it a try. I've always been curious about what it would be like to dress like a girl. Look at how many fathers and sons have been coming to the outings. Still not sure what to do, Danny asked about his mother. Does she know the truth about everything? She does, yes. 2 weeks after we got married, I told her. I also told her that I would stop going on the trips if she didn't like the idea. Then she decided to try it. She has never been sorry that she let me come. It also gives her time to herself and keeps her from worrying that I'm going after other women. Danny said, I'm willing to try it once and only once. Then he said something that came out of the blue. To be honest, I've always wanted to try on a certain dress just to see how it felt. Joannie asked, Which one is that? If we don't have it, one of the other ones might. Danny said, It's the same dress I've seen in ads for Disneyland. It is what Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty wears, and the girl next to her is wearing exactly the same dress. After giving it a second thought, I went to the closet and looked around. In less than a minute, I found what I was looking for. I asked, Like this, as I held it up to show Danny. All done. Danny said, That's the dress. Even the color is the same light blue. I knew right away that I had hooked one of my boys. Now for the second one. I then asked Denny, Is there a certain style and color of dress you'd like to try on first? Denny said, Not really. I never really gave a dress much thought. I said, I have an idea. If that's all right with you? What? Denny spoke up. How about a copy of the dress I wore when I went out for the first time? Denny replied, If you think I should. I went back into the closet and brought the dress out a minute later. The way Denny's eyes lit up told me I had just hooked my other son. I knew then that I would always have someone with me when I drove somewhere. As I looked through the wigs, I found one that looked like the hair in the Danny commercial. I also gave Denny the same wig I had worn when I was his age, about 25 years ago. Denny said, Dad, I have a question. If Uncle Wyatt goes on these trips, does that mean Josh will go too? Janet's son is Josh. Yes, he will go to his first meeting 2 weeks. After that, Josh will decide where to go, I told Denny. Joannie finally said something. I don't know what it is, but something isn't right in this room. Then she turned to the girls and asked, Can you help me figure out what it is? They both said, It's Daddy, he's still dressed like a man, as they giggled like teenage girls. Joannie stopped me on my way to the closet and said, Deanna, your dress is in the bathroom. How did you know I was going to wear this dress tonight? I was interested. Joannie said, I didn't pick it out. Someone else did. In the bathroom, I found a plastic-wrapped dress on a hanger with a note that said, My love, I'm sorry I can't be there tonight when you show off our daughters. I felt like I should do something to help with this, so I thought that giving this dress would be the best thing I could do. Your ever-loving wife, Sandra. The dress looked like one that actresses wear to the Academy Awards. As I ran to get some of my nicer undies, I asked Joannie, You knew all about this, didn't you? I sure did. Do you think that dress was brought up here by someone? She smiled as she answered. As I put on the beautiful dress my wife gave me, I told myself, But I meant it for my wife. I won't forget, and I'll think of a unique way to pay you back for this and for the wonderful life you've given me. When I came out of the bathroom, Joannie, Denny, and Danny were shocked. When I showed up in the dress, All three of their mouths dropped open. I knew there wasn't much time left before the first bell rang. "Girls, don't just stand there with your mouths open. We need you to put on some makeup." They both asked at the same time. "Deanna, who gave you the dress?" "You mother." I told her that she could be a small part of the show tonight. Then I showed Denny and Danny how to put on their makeup while Joannie got the camera. When she got back, she reminded me of something I had forgotten. "Deanna, we haven't changed the names of these beautiful young people yet." "Yes, Daddy, what do our female names mean?" Denny asked. "We are also going to change Danny's name. Your new name is Darlene. And Denny, you will be Daphne. Before you were born, we didn't know what gender you were, but we knew we were having twins. If you had been girls, your mom and I would have given you the names I just gave you." The first bell was heard. "What is it?" Darlene asked. I replied that they are calling the others to the dining hall. Joannie stood up and went away. "We should go too, right?" Daphne inquired. "We usually gather when one bell rings, but tonight the first bell will call the others. The second is to say that everyone else is in the dining room, so I can show my daughters to everyone in the family. Then everyone else will come up to you and tell you who they are. They will tell you their given names and their female names." I was so proud of my beautiful daughters as I watched them stand in line while everyone else said their names. I was sure that I had passed on the legacy of my family. I'm sure many of you are curious about how my dad handled my brother-in-law's first trip with the family. This happened during the summer after I graduated from high school but before I started college. Just 2 weeks after getting married to Wyatt, Janet dropped a bombshell on us. "When are you guys going to dress up my husband as a woman and take him on one of your trips? I want to know so that I can plan a weekend away from my husband." Confused, I asked her to explain. Apparently, my mom had told her about the men-only family trips my husband and I go on. Janet had been persistently asking why there wasn't an all-women's family trip. My mom finally caved in and shared the truth with her. Although I hadn't spoken about it to anyone, I thought an all-women's trip was a great idea. If it made my marriage as happy as my parents', I was all for it. Janet had found some helpful information. She revealed that Wyatt had dressed up before and enjoyed it. He had stopped because he worried that dressing up might make him appear strange. I took the opportunity to ask Wyatt's mom in a roundabout way what name Wyatt would have had if he were born a girl. Janet confirmed that his name would have been Yvonne and continued to share more details. 5 months after the wedding, Wyatt, my dad, and Ben had a discussion about the trips and the trust fund. Wyatt was excited about the prospect of receiving $100,000 on his 8th wedding anniversary just by going on one of these trips and keeping it a secret. He asked if he could spend the money on anything he wanted, even without it benefiting the family. Ben assured him that the trust fund could be used freely as long as it involved the family. As Wyatt signed the necessary paperwork, he inquired about what made these trips so special. My dad replied that they couldn't reveal the secret until the upcoming weekend, suggesting that Wyatt would be going on more than just one trip. Meanwhile, my dad approached me, Dean, with a request to get up early and wait in the bathroom of the master bedroom. I replied affirmatively, and at 5:30 I drove my old Ford Pinto to the lodge. The car had been purchased for college using my savings and a small loan from my family, which I intended to repay with my trust fund. As Dad and Wyatt entered the lodge, I made my way to the bathroom in the master bedroom, where I could clearly hear every word spoken in that room. Wyatt's curiosity about the room's grandeur was evident when he exclaimed, "This bedroom is huge!" My dad confirmed that the master bedroom was indeed exclusively for them and explained that it was used only when a new person joined the group. Wyatt noticed my car in the parking lot and asked if I would need the room too. My dad reassured him that I had my own space. Wyatt couldn't contain his curiosity any longer and questioned the big secret that no one should know about. Promptly, he asked a surprising question. "How would you feel about going out on the weekend dressed like a woman?" I couldn't see Wyatt's face, but I could sense his surprise from the tone of his voice. Reacting to Wyatt's outburst, my dad reassured him that dressing up as a woman on the trips was not a rite of passage, but rather a way to ensure he felt included when others embraced their feminine sides. Wyatt seemed perplexed, wondering how he could feel like he didn't belong. My dad explained, when you're the only one dressed like a man while the rest of us are enjoying our feminine sides." Wyatt almost shouted in response, emphasizing the female side. He expressed disbelief at the idea of men in the family going on these trips to dress up as women. My dad confirmed, proudly saying that cross-dressing had been a tradition for 5 generations, and it had remained the same throughout the years. Wyatt questioned how such a significant family secret could be hidden from his wife, Melinda. My dad disclosed that Melinda was already aware of it, as he had informed her a few weeks after their wedding. Most men in the family had shared this with their wives, and many of them enjoyed dressing up when they were alone at home. Feeling troubled, Wyatt shared his concerns about telling Janet, his wife, about this aspect of his life, particularly the fear of revealing his feelings and possibly being perceived as a loser. I could sense some frustration in my dad's response as he urged Wyatt to listen and understand. Just because a man likes to dress up as a woman doesn't make him a loser or a weak person, he said, emphasizing that cross-dressing was an expression of love. Janet already knew about this, my dad added, as Melinda had informed her before my first trip. Wyatt, still struggling with the idea, inquired about my involvement, wanting to know if I enjoyed dressing up as well. My dad answered affirmatively, informing him that I was currently standing in the bathroom ready to demonstrate. Excited, Wyatt requested to see, and my dad called me, addressing me as Deanna. Surprised by the name, Wyatt asked if we chose our own names or if someone else picked them for us. My dad explained that each of us had a girl's name, which was chosen before we were born. This revelation indicated that we had a new member joining our trips. How did my mother know this before I came along? Wyatt wondered, asking what name we would call him. My dad replied, "Your name is Yvonne. Your mom had no idea about it. Before a baby is born, the parents usually have a name picked out for a boy and a name for a girl. Yvonne would have been your name if you were born a girl." This information surprised Wyatt, and he seemed to be contemplating the significance of this revelation. At this point, I opened the door and entered the room, catching Wyatt's attention immediately. He was visibly astonished and exclaimed, "Wow!" I felt a sense of accomplishment in his reaction. After a brief moment of silence, Wyatt asked, "When can we start if you can make me look that good?" Eager to begin, I assured him, "We can start as soon as you take off those men's clothes." Wyatt wasted no time and quickly got ready, putting on the dress we had prepared for him. As he dressed, he asked for my assistance with the rest of the outfit. I informed him that everything he needed was in the bathroom, as I had mentioned earlier. Wyatt found a note from Janet with the dress. The note read, "Yvonne, I know all about the trips and your chosen name. I'm in agreement with you. If these experiences can make our marriage as happy and strong as my parents', then feel free to go on as many trips as you desire. Remember when you mentioned a woman's dress during our honeymoon? I thought you were admiring another woman, but you kept saying how much you wanted to see me in that dress. What you didn't know was that I had brought that dress not for myself, but for you to enjoy the trips. With all my love, Janet." Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.